Most people fail the CCNA 2026 on the questions hiding near the end of this round, and you are about to face every one of them. Here is the game. 23 real exam-style questions. Read each one, lock in your answer before the timer reveals it, and keep a running score. They get harder as you go, and the ones that trip up the most test takers are stacked near the finish. Make it to the end with your streak alive, and you will walk into the real exam ready. First question is up now. Question 1 of 23. Which command can you enter to determine the addresses that have been assigned on a DHCP server? Option A, show IP DHCP database. Option B, show IP DHCP pool. Option C, show IP DHCP binding. Option D, show IP DHCP server statistics. Choose the best answer before the reveal. Commit to it now. The answer is option C. Exam logic. The show IP DHCP binding command displays the active DHCP bindings, including assigned IP addresses, client MAC addresses, and lease expirations. Use the pool command to view configured ranges rather than active leases. Question 2 of 23. Which command can you enter to allow Telnet to be supported in addition to SSH? Option A, transport input Telnet SSH. Option B, transport input Telnet. Option C, no transport input Telnet. Option Z, no transport input Telnet. Option D, privilege level 15. Lock in your pick before the reveal. Trust the read. The answer is option A. Why it works. Under VTY line configuration mode, the transport input telnet SSH command explicitly permits both protocols for remote management. If you only specify telnet, the router will drop SSH sessions, violating the requirement. Question 3 of 23. Which port security violation mode drops traffic from unknown MAC addresses and forwards an SNMP trap? Option A, shutdown VLAN. Option B, protect. Option C, restrict. Option D, shutdown. Decide on the strongest option before the reveal. Stay with your gut. The answer is option C. Key cue. Port security restrict mode drops unauthorized traffic while generating log messages and SNMP traps. Protect mode drops traffic silently without sending traps, and shutdown mode immediately disables the interface. Question 4 of 23. When a WPA2 PSK WLAN is configured in the wireless LAN controller, what is the minimum number of characters required in ASCII format? Option A, 6. Option B, 8. Option C, 12. Option D, 18. Make the call before the reveal. Hold the line on it. The answer is option B. Behind the answer, Wi-Fi Protected Access version 2 requires a pre-shared key of at least 8 ASCII characters. Anything shorter will be rejected by the wireless controller configuration, establishing the minimum secure baseline. Question 5 of 23. What is the root port in STP? Option A. It is the port with the highest priority toward the root bridge. Option B. It is the port on the root switch that leads to the designated port on another switch. Option C. It is the port that is elected only when the root bridge has precisely one port on a single LAN segment. Option D. It is the port on a switch with the lowest cost to reach the root bridge. Choose the best answer before the reveal. Commit to it now. The answer is option D. Reasoning. In Spanning Tree Protocol, the root port is the interface on a non-root switch with the lowest cumulative path cost to the root bridge. Options mentioning the highest priority or ports on the root bridge itself describe designated ports instead. You are 25% in. Score check? Everyone you nail now is exam confidence in the bank. Question 6 of 23. Which feature or protocol is required for an IP SLA to measure UDP jitter? Option A, LLDP. Option B, EEM. Option C, CDP. Option D, IP SLA responder. Lock in your pick before the reveal. Trust the read. The answer is option D. What the exam tests here. Measuring UDP jitter requires an IP SLA responder enabled on the destination device to timestamp packets and return them. Protocols like Cisco Discovery Protocol and LLDP are for neighbor discovery, not active network monitoring. Question 7 of 23. In which situation is private IPv4 addressing appropriate for a new subnet on the network of an organization? Option A. The network has multiple endpoint listeners, and it is desired to limit the number of broadcasts. Option B. The ISP requires the new subnet to be advertised to the Internet for web services. Option C. There is limited unique address space, and traffic on the new subnet will stay local within the organization. Option D. Traffic on the subnet must traverse a site-to-site VPN to an outside organization. Decide on the strongest option before the reveal. Stay with your gut. The answer is option C. Exam logic. Private IPv4 addressing is appropriate when unique public address space is limited and traffic remains internal to the organization. Options involving internet routing or external transit typically require unique public addresses or careful NAT traversal to function correctly. Question 8 of 23. What is the function of the controller in a software-defined network? Option A. Forwarding packets. Option B. Multicast replication at the hardware level. Option C. Determining network paths and programming forwarding behavior. Option D. Fragmenting and reassembling packets. Make the call before the reveal. Hold the line on it. The answer is option C. Why it works. An SDN controller centralizes the control plane by determining network paths and programming forwarding behaviors on devices. It does not physically forward packets, as the actual data plane hardware handles the packet movement across the network. Question 9 of 23. What does the implementation of a first-hop redundancy protocol protect against on a network? Option A. Default gateway failure. Option B. BGP neighbor flapping. Option C. Spanning tree loops. Option D. Root bridge loss. Choose the best answer before the reveal. Commit to it now. The answer is option A. Key queue. First-hop redundancy protocols protect against default gateway failures by allowing multiple routers to share a virtual IP address. If the active router fails, a standby router takes over, preventing Layer 3 connectivity loss without requiring host reconfiguration. Question 10 of 23. Which STP states are bypassed when port fast is enabled on a switch port? Option A. Blocking. Option B. Forwarding. Option C. Listening and learning. Option D. Discarding. Lock in your pick before the reveal. Trust the read. The answer is option C. Behind the answer, enabling port fast bypasses the listening and learning states, causing the port to transition immediately to forwarding. This feature is intended for access ports connected to end hosts to prevent DHCP timeout issues during the spanning tree convergence process. Question 11 of 23. Why is TCP desired over UDP for applications that require extensive error checking, such as HTTPS? Option A. UDP uses sequencing data for packets to arrive in order, and TCP offers the capability to receive packets in random order. Option B. UDP uses flow control mechanisms for the delivery of packets, and TCP uses congestion control for efficient packet delivery. Option C. UDP reliably guarantees delivery of all packets, and TCP drops packets under heavy load. Option D. UDP operates without acknowledgements, while TCP uses acknowledgements to ensure reliable delivery. Decide on the strongest option before the reveal. Stay with your gut. The answer is option D. Reasoning. TCP uses acknowledgements, sequencing, and retransmissions to ensure reliable, ordered data delivery for applications requiring extensive error checking. UDP is a connectionless protocol that operates without these reliability mechanisms, dropping packets under heavy load. Halfway done. The back half is where the real exam is won, so lock back in right now. Question 12 of 23. Which API is used in controller-based architectures to interact with edge devices? Option A, southbound. Option B, overlay. Option C, northbound. Option D, underlay. Make the call before the reveal. Hold the line on it. The answer is option A. What the exam tests here. Southbound APIs are used to communicate between the SDN controller and the network infrastructure devices in the data plane. Northbound APIs are used for the controller to communicate with upper-level applications and management programs instead. Question 13 of 23. Which port type does a lightweight AP use to connect to the wired network when configured in Flex Connect mode with local switching and VLAN tagging? Option A, trunk. Option B, lag. Option C, Ether channel. Option D, access. Choose the best answer before the reveal. Commit to it now. The answer is option A. Exam logic. Flex Connect local switching with VLAN tagging requires an 800 2.1Q trunk port on the switch to carry multiple tagged VLANs. The access, lag, and Ether channel options are incorrect because a standard access port only carries a single untagged VLAN. Question 14 of 23. Which configuration management mechanism uses TCP port 22 by default when communicating with managed nodes? Option A, Ansible. Option B, Python. Option C, Puppet. Option des chefs. Lock in your pick before the reveal. Trust the read. The answer is option A. Why it works. Ansible uses SSH, which operates over TCP port 22 by default, to communicate with managed nodes. It is agentless, making port 22 the standard transport for its operations. Puppet and Chef use agents that typically communicate over ports 8140 and 443. Question 15 of 23. By default, which virtual MAC address does HSRP Group 14 use? Option A, the IPv6 address shown on screen. Option B, the IPv6 address shown on screen. Option C, the IPv6 address shown on screen. Option D, the IPv6 address shown on screen. Decide on the strongest option before the reveal. Stay with your gut. The answer is option D. Key Q. HSRP version 1 uses a virtual MAC address format of 000C07, IXXX, where XX represents the group number in hexadecimal. Group 14 in decimal converts to 0E in hexadecimal. The distractors either use the wrong OUI or fail to convert the group number properly. Question 16 of 23. How does Rapid PVST Plus create a fast, loop-free network topology? Option A. It uses multiple active paths between end stations. Option B. It requires multiple links between core switches. Option C. It maps multiple VLANs into the same spanning tree instance. Option D. It generates one spanning tree instance for each VLAN. Make the call before the reveal. Hold the line on it. The answer is option D. Behind the answer, Rapid PVST Plus generates one spanning tree instance for each VLAN. This allows faster convergence and supports load balancing across multiple links while maintaining a loop-free Layer 2 topology. The other options are incorrect because they either violate loop prevention or describe MST features. 75% down. This is the part that decides it. Stay sharp. Question 17 of 23. An engineer requires a switch interface to actively attempt to establish a trunk link with a neighbor switch. What command must be configured? Option A, switch port mode trunk. Option B, switch port mode dynamic desirable. Option C, switch port non-negotiate. Option D, switch port mode dynamic auto. Choose the best answer before the reveal. Commit to it now. The answer is option B. Reasoning. The switch port mode dynamic desirable command enables dynamic trunking protocol and actively attempts to negotiate trunk formation with the neighboring switch. The dynamic auto mode is a trap because it only passively waits for the neighbor to initiate the negotiation. Question 18 of 23. Under which condition is TCP preferred over UDP? Option A. UDP is used when low latency is optimal, and TCP is used when latency is tolerable. Option B. TCP is used when drop data is more acceptable, and UDP is used when data is accepted out of order. Option C. TCP is used when data reliability is critical, and UDP is used when missing packets are acceptable. Option D. UDP is used when data is highly interactive, and TCP is used when data is time-sensitive. Lock in your pick before the reveal. Trust the read. The answer is option C. What the exam tests here. TCP is preferred when data reliability is critical, using acknowledgements and retransmissions to ensure guaranteed delivery. UDP is used when occasional packet loss is acceptable, such as in voice or video streaming. The distractors incorrectly associate low latency or drop data with TCP. Question 19 of 23. What is a characteristic of frame switching? Option A. Populates the ARP table with the egress port. Option B. Drops received MAC addresses not listed in the address table. Option C. Stores and forwards frames in a buffer and uses error checking. Option D. Rewrites the source and destination MAC address. Decide on the strongest option before the reveal. Stay with your gut. The answer is option C. Exam logic. Store and forward switching receives the entire frame, stores it in a buffer, performs error checking like verifying the frame check sequence, and then forwards it if valid. The trap options misrepresent switching behavior, as switches dynamically learn MACs and never rewrite them. Question 20 of 23. Which set of actions satisfy the requirement for multi-factor authentication? Option A. The user enters a username and password and then re-enters the credentials on a second screen. Option B. The user swipes a key fob, then clicks through an email link. Option C. The user enters a username and password and then clicks a notification in an authentication app on a mobile device. Option D. The user enters only the code displayed on an RSA token. Make the call before the reveal. Hold the line on it. The answer is option C. Why it works? Multi-factor authentication requires combining two different factors, such as something you know and something you have. Using a password plus a mobile authenticator app notification fits this rule, while merely re-entering credentials does not. Question 21 of 23. You are configuring your Edge router's interface with a public IP address for internet connectivity. The router needs to obtain the IP address from the service provider dynamically. Which command is needed on interface fast Ethernet 0 divided by 0 to accomplish this? Option A. IP default gateway. Option B. IP route. Option C. IP default network. Option D. IP address DHCP. Option E. IP address dynamic. Choose the best answer before the reveal. Commit to it now. The answer is option D. PQ. The IP address DHCP command allows a router interface to obtain an IP address dynamically from a service provider. The other options configure static routing or default gateways, which do not dynamically acquire an IP address. Home stretch. Nail these closers and you have proven you are ready. Question 22 of 23. In software-defined architecture, which plane handles switching for traffic through a Cisco router? Option A, control. Option B, data. Option C, management. Option D, application. Lock in your pick before the reveal. Trust the read. The answer is option B. Behind the answer, the data plane, also known as the forwarding plane, handles the actual switching and forwarding of traffic through a network device. The control plane builds the routing tables, but the data plane executes the forwarding decisions. Question 23 of 23. What is the difference between Radius and TACACS Plus? Option A. Radius logs all commands that are entered by the administrator, but TACACS Plus logs only start, stop, and interim commands. Option B. TACACS Plus separates authentication, authorization, and accounting, while Radius combines authentication and authorization. Option C. TACACS Plus encrypts only password information, and Radius encrypts the entire payload. Option D. Radius is most appropriate for dial authentication, but TACACS Plus can be used for multiple types of authentication. Decide on the strongest option before the reveal. Stay with your gut. The answer is Option B. Reasoning. TACACS Plus separates authentication, authorization, and accounting into independent processes for granular control. Radius combines authentication and authorization, and it only encrypts the password, unlike TACACS Plus, which encrypts the entire payload.